Greetings from the United States. I'm coming to you from Chicago today, and I am going to talk about how we can use the psychology of gameplay in everyday life to be stronger, braver, and happier. I'm not going to talk about business models today. I'm going to talk about you. As founders, we have tremendous stressors that negatively impact our own mental health. So today I just want to give you some practical things that you can do. I'm going to maybe try to help you maybe see things a little bit differently than maybe you have in the past. And I'm going to share a little bit of research. But mostly this is about you and giving you tools and practical opportunities. But first I want to start with a question. Is playing video games a waste of time? No. Good answer, good answer. No, games can make us better. 10 years ago, Jane McGonigal wrote a book called Reality is Broken. And it was really the first book that dove into the science of games and posed the question in a very credible way that games can actually make us better. And they can even help us solve the world's problems. Jane is also the inventor of SuperBetter. And she invented SuperBetter out of a personal incident in her own life. You see, Jane was in her home one day and a kitchen cabinet door was open. She didn't pay attention. She stood up too fast and she got a serious concussion when she stood up. And the concussion didn't heal properly. Over time, Jane experienced anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. Her damaged brain was saying, "Jane, you have no reason to live." And finally, Jane got to the point that she said, "I'm going to either create a game to help myself heal, or I'm going to kill myself." And fortunately for the world, she created a game that is now SuperBetter and has helped over 1 million people around the world overcome obstacles in their own lives. At the heart of SuperBetter is a methodology or a framework that just helps us look at the world differently through the lens of gameplay. The author, Daniel Pink, did a great job of summarizing the idea. In fact, we liked the way he summarized it so much, it's on the cover of the New York Times best-selling book, SuperBetter, The Power of Living Gamefully. But what Daniel Pink said was that SuperBetter, at its heart, is a transformative idea, that we can use the same strengths that we use when we play games to confront real-world challenges, from trauma to illness to just changing our habits for the better. So this approach of living gamefully or bringing the psychology of gameplay to our real lives can improve resilience, well-being, mental health, and it can help us build skills to help us be successful in anything we do, even with the goals of our startups. There's even studies that have been done that show that this gameful approach can improve mental health. This randomized controlled trial at the University of Pennsylvania shows that playing SuperBetter for 30 days significantly reduces anxiety and depression. The studies also show that this gameful approach improves resilience. And resilience is important because it's really foundational to be successful in all areas of our lives. So you might ask, why don't we just keep doing what we're doing today in order to improve our self-care and our well-being? Well, one of the things that we've found from our research is that most self-improvement programs today are fundamentally designed to fail. And this is a universal statement. It's a general statement, but I'm going to give you one specific example. It's from the weight loss industry. So even the best commercially successfully science-backed weight loss programs, if 100 people started that program today, some would lose weight for a little while, but if we measured the outcomes after 1 year, 95 of those 100 would have gained all of their weight back, and many of them would have gained additional weight. And so why is this traditional approach, what is the traditional approach and why is it not working? Well, the traditional approach tends to be that we're going to provide education, we're going to take science, we're going to put a spin on it, we're going to provide some to-do lists or some action steps, we're going to deliver it, maybe it's a book, a program, an app, and then we're going to rely on you to have the willpower to be successful. Rarely is this a formula or a model for lasting success. But it's a bit of a trap because this formula feels very, very familiar. This is the formula that we use from the first day we enter kindergarten all the way through high school, through college, and beyond. This is our education model. So we feel very comfortable that if we learn, if we're educated, and we can demonstrate our mastery in tests and show that we've acquired knowledge, that we're going to be successful. But it doesn't work in behavior change. And the reason is that we're just more complex than that. Our motivation and our abilities is impacted by many factors, of which education and knowledge is just one small part. In his book, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, Daniel Kahneman provides some really important insights into this phenomenon. His research shows that human thinking is almost always fast, emotional, and intuitive. 90% of the time, we make quick decisions with little mental energy. 90% of the time, we're on autopilot. Only 10% of the time do we slow down to make rational and deliberate and logical decisions. And when we think about it, it makes sense that the human brain would be designed this way. This is a survival technique. If our ancestors had to respond and slow down and make decisions cognitively about every piece of information, about every stimuli that reached any of their senses 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they would be so overwhelmed that they would get nothing done and our species would not have survived. So this phenomenon of living most of our life really on autopilot is a survival mechanism. It is not a design flaw. But what it means, if our models are only about providing education, then we're only helping people 10% of the time, and our systems are designed to not help them be as successful as they can be. So today I'm talking about just an alternative. And the idea is that the strengths that we use when we play games can help us be stronger, braver, and happier in all of our lives. This is potentially a really big idea. 3 billion people around the world now play video games, nearly 40% of the population. Every one of those 3 billion people adopt the mindset of gameplay when they play. Every one of them, every time they play, practice psychological strengths and develop their strengths. It doesn't matter if it's a console game or an online game or a mobile game. The basic dynamics are the same. When we play games, we practice psychological strengths. In the SuperBetter book, Jane writes that when we play a game, we tackle challenges with more creativity, more determination, more optimism, and we're more likely to reach out to others for help. Now, what I'm not talking about is gamification. And we use a term called gameful design to distinguish what we're talking about here from gamification. Gamification is the application of game techniques into non-game settings. Think badges, points, leaderboards. Usually these game techniques are added into these non-game areas to provide a sense of extrinsic motivation to incentivize some type of a desired behavior. Gamification is neither good nor bad, it's a tool. With gameful design, we actually start in a very different place. We start with the question of what makes video game play so attractive that 3 billion people around the world volunteer on a regular basis to spend their time playing. And I guarantee the answer is not badges and points and leaderboards. When we play games, we play many times for just intrinsic motivations, right? When we play games, we're developing a sense of mastery. It gives us a sense of agency. It gives us a sense of purpose as we pursue the goals of the game. In games, we get constant feedback. We push ourselves in games to see what we're capable of. In games, it's okay to fail. In fact, we fail 80% of the time. And each time, we try again and we develop new skills to level up to the next level. Over half of video game play around the world now is also social. So there's a strong motivation around collaboration and social connection as well. So as I started in my talk, I want to make this practical. So I wanted to share that context with you. But now it's just, how do we use some practical techniques to live gamefully? I'm going to talk about 7 rules of living gamefully. They're going to feel like kind of just like playing a game in real life. Underneath, there's positive psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy as well. The first rule, though, is to just challenge yourself. Take on a challenge. It can be anything that's important to you. If you struggle with mental health, it might be to beat depression or overcome anxiety or manage your stress. It could be a challenge related to achieving your next milestone with your startup. It could be recovering from a setback or an injury. It could be strengthening a relationship. But whatever it is, challenge yourself and accept the challenge to play. And then go for an epic win. An epic win is a more specific goal that inspires you. It's epic in its ability to motivate, not necessarily in its scope and scale. So if you were to say, wow, my challenge is I want to get healthier and start going to the gym, your first epic win might be, I'm going to go to the gym three days this week. And that might set you up for more success than if you said, wow, this epic win has to be epic. I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week for the next year. And so again, these epic wins can be small, they can be large, they can be steps towards something bigger. Seeking out and completing quests is next. Quests are steps that move us towards our goal, our epic win. This, in a traditional goal-setting system, is kind of like the to-do list, but they don't have to be boring. In fact, I'm going to give you a gift today, which is a quest. It's from the SuperBetter book that just might help you land your next big deal at this conference this afternoon. The quest is called the +1 technique. After this session is over, turn to your seatmate. You can also use this with people you know or have just met later on in the day, and simply ask the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your day going? And they're going to reply back with a number. And whatever number they reply back with, you're going to +1 it. You're going to add 1 to it and respond like this. So if you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how's your day? And your seatmate says 6, it's not bad, but you're going to add 1 and make it a 7, and then say, what can I do to make your day a 7? And that's it. Let the conversation happen. We see a lot of teachers that use this technique with their students, and it just opens up new conversations and a feeling of safety and support for their students. What it might just happen for you this afternoon is that when you ask this question and have this discussion, it might just trigger a little bit of oxytocin in both of your brains. And oxytocin, sometimes it's known as the love hormone, but it's a chemical in our brains that's when it's released, we feel more connected to other people. And when we feel more connected to other people, we trust other people more. And when we trust other people more, we're more likely to be able to do that deal. So that's my gift for you. I hope it's helpful, and it's a technique that you can use in the rest of the day. The next rule is to find and battle the bad guys. Bad guys are obstacles that get in the way of your goal. By naming the bad guy, they come out of the shadows, we have awareness of them, and we can try different strategies to defeat them. A bad guy example from the SuperBetter app is the self-critic. The self-critic is that little voice in the back of your head that says, you're not good enough. You're a failure. They don't like you. You're never going to close that seed round. And by naming that bad guy, if it's a relevant bad guy for you, it brings it from the shadows and into our awareness. And when it pops up during the day, we can take action. And so, again, if that's a relevant bad guy for you and you've named it as your bad guy, as you're going through your day, maybe you feel all of a sudden like a sense of shame or a little bit of anxiety or fear, or maybe a sense of feeling worthlessness that formerly would have been in the shadows and just kind of giving you energy that holds you back. Instead, you can say, wow, I feel this. Is that the self-critic talking? And then you can try whatever strategy might work for you. Maybe it's some words of self-affirmation. Maybe it's some mindfulness to call out that self-critic bad guy for the liar that he is. The next rule is to collect and activate power-ups. Power-ups are quick, simple activities that give you a little bit of positive energy. Usually they evoke positive emotions in your life, and they serve the role of helping to increase the ratio of positive to negative emotions in your life. And if you can get that ratio up to 3 to 1 or even 5 to 1, it helps you better manage and regulate your emotions, and it improves your well-being. And so we're going to do this very quickly for the sake of time, but because power-ups are quick and simple, let's do a power-up together. If you want to do this with me, pull out your phone, open up your browser, and type into the search baby, and then pick a type of an animal, whatever animal you want: kangaroo, hippopotamus, cat, or I guess a kitten as well. And when it comes up, and spend literally 5 seconds and just look at it. And that's it. As you're finished, I can already see the smiles. And so congratulations on completing your first power-up. You've evoked a little bit of positive emotion in your life. Maybe it's a little bit of awe, a little bit of love. It's kind of that sense of cuteness. That positive emotion is going to boost your energy just a little bit. And one of the things about power-ups and positive emotions, the research shows that more is more important than longer term. So you're better off doing 10 power-ups a day that take 30 seconds each versus doing one that takes 5 minutes. The science says the frequency is what's important to drive the greater ability to regulate your emotions and so on. Recruiting your allies comes next. These are people in your life that support you. It can be hard to ask for help. It can feel unsafe. There can be a lot of risk in terms of asking. And one of the things that this gameful approach does is it changes the frame of reference of the discussion to mitigate that risk. So when Jane was recovering from her concussion, she reached out to her twin sister, Kelly McGonigal, and said, "I'm playing this game to help my brain heal. Would you play this game with me?" And of course, Kelly said, "Yes, I would love to." So all of a sudden, instead of this awkward, potentially unsafe, need to be vulnerable in a scary way, they're playing a game together as allies. Again, it changes the frame of reference. Jane can now even go one step further and use the other language that we're talking about and say, one of the rules is to find and battle bad guys. And this is one of the bad guys related to concussion that I'm struggling with. Can you help me brainstorm some strategies to beat that bad guy, right? So again, it changes the language to make asking for and giving help feel much, much more safe. The final rule is to adopt a secret identity. A secret identity is an inspirational, heroic nickname that highlights your unique strengths. It's intended to inspire. There's also some science that shows that when we can look at the world through the lens of an avatar, or in this case, a secret identity, it helps us take a step back from our situation and be more objective and make better decisions as well. When Jane created this gameful framework, her secret identity was Jane the Concussion Slayer, inspired by Buffy. So that's it. 7 simple rules. You can start practicing them right away. If you're interested, and I'm careful not to promote anything here, but everything I'm suggesting for you is free. So if you are interested in downloading the SuperBetter app, you can do that from the app stores. You can go to superbetter.com and create a free account. It's going to be free through most of this year. If you're curious, you can also check out Jane's TED Talk. Jane is a brilliant speaker, and you'll like it. The one that you want to look for is called The Game That Can Give You 10 Extra Years of Life. So thank you. I want to let you know that we are all surrounded by potential allies. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me over the last 20 minutes. If you are interested in connecting or inclined, I'd be honored. You can find me on Twitter or on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We don't have time for questions, unfortunately, but as Keith said, just catch him when he walks somewhere. Just go to him and ask any questions you have.